Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for this OTB creative session via virtual paint party. So you guys all received a canvas that has a sketch on it like this. I'm using paint paper, but it works the same as a canvas. It's kind of like a canvas paper. And that's just so that you can see it a little bit better. Otherwise the canvas might be a little too large and harder to see. We also have some water and then your paint brushes that were sent to you as well. So you've got these 3 paint brushes. Okay, I think I may have even dropped a couple more, I'm not sure in there. And then we've also got color. So we've got our basics. So these are your primary colors. You can make multiple colors with them. So the one we're gonna be making the most is green, which is yellow and blue. You know, you can make purple this way with red and white, but you can also add, red and blue, but you can add some white to make it a lighter purple. You can use gray. You can mix all of these to make any color you want. We've got pink, peach, these 3. So that's why you start with these colors, because we can make whatever we'd like. So let's get started. So excited to work with you today. Okay. So first we're gonna start, you're gonna need your colors out and a blank plate or sheet of paper or anything to act as your palette, okay? So you're gonna take maybe your medium brush and we are going to start on the background. So you can make your background a different color. I'm going with the painting that was sent to me that you guys were interested in, but you can do a blue background, pink table, whatever you wanna do, okay? 2 different blues. I'm gonna show you one way, but if you wanna change the color of something, you wanna make a succulent more of like a purple, go for it. This is your painting. You could change the color of the pot, whatever you want. This is what makes it unique, is what you do to it. Okay, so I'm making a light tan color in the back. So I start with orange, which is yellow, a good amount of yellow, and a little bit of red. So you always add less of the dark color to start. And the dark color there is red. And then I mix it together for an orange. Remember, you guys could pause this as much as you need. I know you'll be watching it together via Skype or online video chat. So that's always hard because we do that and you have to press play at the same time. But this will be on YouTube, so you can actually probably use a closed captioning if that is better, okay? And you could always turn off the volume and paint it together and then turn up the volume if you need it. Sometimes some people use it just with my steps here. So we've got orange, right? Clean off my brush real quick. It doesn't have to be super clean. And I take a large, huge, giant scoop of white, maybe even bigger than that. And now I can mix some white in there. And I've got a pretty light tan color. Now what I want to do, I personally want to dull that color out and not be so bright. So I'm going to add the tiniest, ittiest bit of black. See? Mix that in. And that allowed me to dull that color, okay? So this is a little different from the painting that was sent to me. I could keep adding white and changing it and mixing it up because that's such a light color in the painting that you guys were looking at. But I like this color personally, so I'm gonna go with this. However, if I want that other color that's really light, it's just a ton of white, okay? Ton of white. And then this one should be closer to the color, where it's literally like an off-white. Okay, but it's up to you. You can go for a tan, you can do like a light blue, whatever you want, whatever you think will look good. So I added that ton of white. That looks a little closer to what we've got on the painting. And we're gonna go around and we're gonna trace. And I'm just gonna paint. And now that color might be hard for you to see, so I'm gonna use a darker color just so you could see it. So you can see it. I'm gonna trace here, here, all around. And you don't have to go as fast as me. I'll give you a minute. And you guys could always pause together also. So I'm actually going around and just getting close to my plants, like tracing around them, right? Right up to the pencil line. So that way it's kind of like when you paint a house, how you don't want to get on the trim, so you paint up real close to the trim, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing. That way I don't get onto the plant. If I do a little bit, you can see I did a little bit in some places, it's no big deal. And right up to the table too. There we go. So that's your first step. Once you're done with that, color that background in, okay? Great. So now you have that background, and know that it could be different strokes and expressive. I've got strokes here, my color changes up here. Does not have to be perfect, okay? So take your time to color that in, okay? You can either pause here or let the video play for a minute and work on that background. Okay, next step, I'm gonna take that tan color. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of red over it. Mix that in. I know it looks a little pink. Then I'm gonna add another little scoop of yellow over it. Mix that in. I know it looks a little peach. Then I'm gonna add a little tiny bit of black, just a little bit. You don't need very much. Now you're closer to getting a dark brown. And you'll repeat those steps until you get a brown that you like. So I'm gonna add a little more red. And then if that looks good, I'll stop. But I'm like, nah, I want a little more, even a little more red. I'm looking for a reddish brown. You may want a different type of brown. So that's super red, so I need more yellow. All right, well that looks nice, like a light brown, but I want it a little darker. I could even add a little blue to darken it. That's not quite what I want, so I'm gonna add a little black. So I'm literally going between these colors, red, black, and yellow. And then I could add a little blue if I want to add a tint to it. And if it gets really dark and I need to lighten that, I could always add white, okay? So brown is just orange at first, which is yellow and red, and a little bit of black, and then optional blue and a little tiny bit of blue and white. So I like this brown, so I'm gonna go for this brown. I'll give you a minute to make your brown. Brown is a hard color to make. Again, that's starting with red and yellow, mostly yellow, a little bit of red, and you could build up as you need, and a little bit of black. And then from there, you can add more of another color if you want. Experiment. Great, once you get that brown, and again, you can pause if you haven't gotten it yet. I'm gonna go in and trace right up to the table and trace around my pot like this. And I wanna do streaks that are going this way, okay? So I wanna do these nice long streaks. You could grab more water if you need. And see how I'm keeping my brush up and straight and lightly sweeping. In the middle, I'm kind of back and forth, and on the side, I just kind of like, you want it to be kind of frayed out. However, if you prefer something different and you just want to color it all in, that's okay. So you can see how I did that. And what I'm gonna do with the other end here is I'm gonna add a little white to this, like a corner of my brown here. So a lighter brown. And I'm gonna come back in the other way with my light brown. See how I'm starting from the edge and just kind of meeting the other brown. Same thing, long stripe, like long strokes, like that. I'm taking that light brown again and just light streaks. And all I did was add white to a corner of that brown. See? And the white kind of meets in the middle there. And what you did there is you almost created this shadow. We will add a little more shadow here. But you created a shadow like in here. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to get that background. And again, feel free to pause as much as you like. And I know you guys are on Zoom, so sometimes what it helps is I'll count to 3, and that'll be a good place to pause if you need it, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we're gonna add a little bit of shadow. So I've got all that brown there. I like to keep my browns, or my colors. Then I'm just gonna add a little bit of black to the corner here. So I have like a grayish brown or a dark brown. It's okay if it looks really dark. It's pretty dark. Then I'm gonna go over here try to not go over the pot like I did. And then you're gonna kind of add some streaks, and what that is right from the middle of the pot on the bottom. Those are that's a shadow right there. Okay. And again, I got on the pot a little. I'm not worried. I'll cover it. So you can add your little shadow. And if you wanted, you could add different streaks of colors into the wood, black or even blue or whatever you feel like. So yours can be different than mine. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine, okay? It can definitely come out different. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the pot. And remember, again, you guys can pause as much as you like. So I'm gonna make a nice green color for the pot. I'll go in and do the soil, and then we do the plants last, okay? And that'll also give our background some time to dry. And remember, you guys could do this in portions. You could start with the background and say, hey, let's meet tomorrow for the pot and plants, you know? You don't have to do it all at once. It's totally up to you. A lot of artists do them in multiple sittings. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna make that nice teal green. However, if you have a different color in mind, it's totally fine. Feel free to do a different color. So I switched these just so you could see them nice and clear. So I'm gonna add a big scoop of yellow, right? A scoop of blue, right? Mix those in. So then I'm getting a green, you can see that. Good to save this green because you probably will use it multiple times. So you can make a big thing of green. I kind of like doing it this way. You don't have to do it this way. I mix a big thing of green and then I mix colors to portions of it. I don't know if that's hard to do, so it's up to you. So I'm mixing like a big thing of green here. And then to one little portion, like maybe this area, I'm gonna add a little white to it. Spin it in that side. So there, I'm getting closer to my teal. My teal seems to have some more white and blue, so I'm putting more white because I just turned that into a lime green. And I'm gonna add a good amount of, a little more blue to that. There we go. Now I'm getting to where I want to get. So I just play with it, a little more blue, a little more white, until I get my color. So I'm adding more blue to that teal. And there we go. That's the color pot I'm looking for. So in that corner, I added some white, and then a good amount of blue too. And it got me that nice color right here. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of spin off any of the extra paint. Okay, and I'm ready to start on my, and you can use your skinny brush or your medium brush for any of this tracing. I'm comfortable with using my medium brush, but you may feel a little more comfortable with your small brush. It's totally up to you. So I'm gonna trace around here. Like this. Oops. And go up like this. See? And like this too. And I'm tracing around my, and you know, I could even trace over that little curve in the pencil. I just want to go right up to the top of the pot. And that's when like a little brush might be handy if you feel like you need a little brush. I'm gonna go like this. And then up to the top of the pot. If you go a little over, it's no big deal because you're gonna paint over that. And just color that all in. So take your time to color that in. Again, doesn't have to be the neatest color. This is kind of an expressive painting with strokes of paint everywhere. I like that style because it allows us to be expressive and not worry so much about if I have some color changing in some parts or if my strokes of paint are different. It allows me to just be free and paint and express myself. And at this point, you can always fix anything you might have done, like I colored in some of that pot. Good time to fix it. Go. Got my green pot there. Give you guys a minute to catch up, or again, feel free to pause. Okay, so now that you've got that pot there, we'll go ahead and make the soil, and we're gonna come back and use our chip brush for some detail in our pot. So I'll show you that once we come back. To that part, we're gonna let our pot sit for a minute and dry for a second. Now we're going on to the soil, okay? So the soil is like a really dark green. So I'm gonna take a good scoop of black, and you could remix if you want to. You may not have not done the big green I did. And I'm gonna take my black to the corner. When I see a painting with a lot of one color, I just make a big scoop of that color and then mix different portions. So now I've got a really dark green. I mean, it's like a black green, really. It's like just a small tint of green and mostly black, which is like this. And I'm gonna go in my soil and go behind the plants, like right here, in that little corner. And you could take a smaller brush than me. You could take I'm using my medium brush, but I'm so used to it, so I do that a lot. But you can use your skinny brush. And now I'm gonna like, see how I'm dotting it, kinda, like bunching it? Okay, and I'm just kind of bunching it a little bit. And you're gonna save that color because you have to use it again. And I'm gonna go around my plants here. Same thing, you trace around your subject that's behind it or in front of it. And you just kind of go like that. Don't go past the rim. And again, a small brush is totally fine for those little details there. Right? Okay. And then I'm just gonna paint even right up to my pot and color that in. And I did the dots right there because that's how they go, but you're gonna actually accidentally probably paint over that. So you're gonna need to keep that black color to go over it. There we go. So I'll give you some time to color in that soil. Great, so once you color in that soil, let's go up to the plants. So we're gonna have everything will be painted. Then we'll come back in detail from down all the way up. You guys are doing awesome. I know you guys are doing awesome. There we go. Okay, so we'll go up to the plants a little bit. And then after we go up to the plants, we're gonna go from the bottom up with detail. So we'll go to those plants and just color them in, okay? So for this one, I'm gonna choose kind of like a forest green, like a pretty deep green. So this is pretty light. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little blue to it right here in the corner. And I'll show you what kind of green, and even a little tiny bit of black. So I'm adding a tiny bit of black, a tiny bit of blue, and I got this darker, deeper green. It's not so dark, but it's just deep, like a rainforest green kinda. I'm gonna add a little tiny bit more black. Tiny bit, you barely need any. There we go, and I kinda got this green here. And if you wanna choose a different green, it's okay. It doesn't need to be exact. Again, so here I might even use my small brush. I'm gonna use an angle brush for mine, so you can use a small brush if you'd like though. So this acts as a small brush. However, it can sometimes be a little hard to work with in the very beginning. So you go ahead and you can use your small brush. And you just trace, again, a lot of tracing. Tracing my paints. And color it in. Okay, I'm gonna do the same here. And just color it in. And you can see I got a little dots outside of my painting. I clean that up later. I'm not so worried about it. It happens, it's art. Even when I look at some of the famous artists, I'll notice some little, like if I go to the museums, I like to look for like the little brush splatter or their paint strokes in the opposite direction. I like to look for those little imperfections because to me, that's the most exciting part. Like, it's like, wow, look at Claude Monet had this little imperfection here, or Diego Rivera, or whoever I'm looking at, you know, that I've always admired. It's great. It's kind of fun to see the human part of it. And it's pretty incredible to see. One of the most incredible ones was the Mulberry Tree by Van Gogh. Oh my goodness. The amount of paint he put on there was just wow. To see that painting in person was intense. It was beautiful. And so here, and you could see a lot of mistakes in that one, but that's kind of what he was going for. Really expressive. I don't know if I'd call them mistakes as much as like just expressive strokes that he was aiming for. Okay, so you could see I traced them and I colored them in really carefully. So take your time to do that. You're gonna, again, you guys can do that with your skinny brush if that makes you comfortable, okay? Go ahead and do that. Awesome. Once you get those, you're gonna go with a really light color. So I've got this, I'm gonna add like a light green. And so I've added just a light green over that. And I kind of had a light green here, and I'm just gonna color in these a light green. So you can see I'm coloring each petal individually, even though it covers like my pencil a little. But when I go in this direction, the direction of each petal, and color it one by one, it kind of saves the pencil in a way that I can see with my eye where the paint is going. You know, if I just colored it all in like that, it would just be one big circle. So I'm doing one petal at a time. Again, a good place to use your small brush. And remember, you can pause this as much as you'd like, okay? And if it helps to turn off the volume, you can do that. There should be some closed captionings on YouTube too, if that's easier through Skype. I know that can be hard hearing everybody's volume through Skype. So you can always do that if that's better. There we go. I think on Zoom you could actually share a screen too. Like if you have a video like on YouTube, you can watch it together on Zoom. So that might be an option. Okay, so I did each petal individually, and I could still see some pencil marks, and I could kind of still see where my leaves are facing, okay? My individual leaves. All right, time for this one over here. And again, you could take these in pieces. You guys could say, whoa, that was a lot of brain work. Let's stop here and finish the rest tomorrow. Okay, I'll call you at 3 or however you want to work it out. Okay, so now I'm taking some blue, and I'm going in the corner here. And I want a bluish type of green, and I'm also going to add a little black. So a little blue and a little black, kind of like that first plant, but I kind of want this one a little more bluish. There we go. Just a little different. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine, as long as the greens are different. Then I go in, to me I even want it more bluish. I kind of see this bluish tint to it. So I add a good amount of blue and just a little black, and you can see how that has a nice blue kind of tint. And I cover, same thing, I cover each individual leaf. Okay? And then go in, just so I could see it. And if, it's kind of nice if you could see the pencil through it. If you can't, no big deal. Just makes it easier for the next part, but it's not necessary. There we go, color all of that in. Again, grab your small brush for outlining if you need to. Whatever you feel comfortable with. So you can outline in with your small brush and color in with your small brush, or color in with your medium brush. So you change them as you feel comfortable. Small brush is good for small detail and outlining. Medium brush is good for getting it colored in, so is a large brush. All right, so there's my first color, okay? And so while we're at it, if you have some brown left, or you can make another brown, grab a little bit of this darker or this medium brown here. Any brown that's darker than the background, which is most of them. Or you can make it, again, it starts off with orange, which is yellow and red, and a tiny bit of black, and white if you want to lighten it, okay? So again, a good place to pause if you need to finish your succulents and everything. All right, so now I'm gonna take my thin brush for sure, And I'm gonna come up and do a point like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. These are just those little twigs in the background. And I kind of got like an X type of thing, but not a perfect looking X. It's kind of kind of flowy, right? Kind of bends. And then I got a couple twigs sticking out there. Doesn't really matter where you put them. They don't need to be like mine. They're just little twigs sticking out every which way. Even some are pointing down. Some little messy twigs. And twigs coming off the twigs. Okay? And you can add them wherever you want. And you could kind of use mine as inspiration, okay? So I'll give you a minute to add those. It's coming along. Great. And again, if I go too fast, you can pause. Now you can take some yellow and add it to any green you want. So you get a nice lime green, light lime green. And I'm just gonna put little dots all in the back. And some of them are gonna be attached to the tree and covering some of the brown on the tree. Some are just floating in the air. And so there are these little dots right around this tree. They don't have to be perfect dots. They're kind of, should be kind of messy dots. But you can even use your little brush as a stamp. Just push down any way that you want. Again, some are attached to the tree and over the brown. You could cover. Some are bunched in one little area. Some are just floating out here. It doesn't need to be perfect. So I went in with the light green. If you wanted, you could kind of mix a couple greens. I could go in with the dark green a little bit. That's already on my plate. You know, you can mix in a few greens if you wanted. You don't have to, but you could do a couple different shades. Now you've got that little background. There you go, little tree back there. I'm gonna add a little yellow to it. I feel like it needs a little yellow up here in this corner. So now I'm gonna layer with some yellow over it. Just a couple yellow dots. I'll give you a chance to finish up that little tree, and feel free to pause again if I'm moving fast. Okay, let's move forward. All right, so we're gonna grab our chip brush. So yours is a little smaller. I know, I think I gave you one a little smaller. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember if you got the smaller one or the larger one. But any brush that looks like this, chip brush, wiry brush. It's kind of got that wire, the bigger brush in your pack, right? I'm gonna go in. So first, before I even go in, I'm gonna take my medium brush or any brush, and I'm gonna make a grayish color, like a dark gray. Which is mostly black and a touch of white right there. Okay. I'm gonna dip in that so that it's like on my brush, pretty dry, okay? And it's wiry and dry. I can even take off any excess paint, okay? And I'm gonna go, not pushing down, barely pushing down. I'm gonna go up to, not the full corner because it'll go out, but close to the corner. And just go like that. And you can see how dry and frayed it looks. We want that, okay? Let's go ahead and do that. With your chip brush. That's what I love for the chip brush. You can also repeat that step down here over your shadow. Just be careful you don't go into your pot. Oh, actually you can go into your pot, which is great. Just not into your background. So see how we got the shadow there too with the chip brush? Chip brush is great for little things like that. Take a moment to do that. I'm going to talk ahead, but you could still be working on your chip brush part. And I'm just going to go in and cover this part with my same color. And then just kind of connect it to the chip brush part. The cool thing about the chip brush part is you could kind of see through it. So you want to see the green through it. Same here, you want to see some green through it. So I just went all the way up to the edge of my pot and then met the chip brush. And what I did here is just a little mistake. If you go out of your line, I just add some water and I kind of go in a circle to buffer it out. Then I take a clean brush or a napkin and I just pull up the pigment which is pulling up the paint. Boom, and it's gone. Yeah, take your time to do that part. This is such a pretty painting. It is a little complicated because it's got little details, but it's gorgeous. That's why you guys could feel free to take it in pieces, okay? Sometimes taking it in pieces is a really good idea. Okay, so now I've got that chip brush full of gray. I'm not worried about it. I might take a, we don't want to wet it too much, so I might take a paper towel and just get off any excess gray I might want. And so it's kind of almost back to normal. Doesn't need to be perfect. Now I'm going to jump into the white, lightly tapping the white, getting it on my brush, right? And I usually kind of tap a little off, just a little bit. Going to the side, and I'm going to add some white shine down here with my chip brush on this side. And especially it gets longer towards the bottom. And even I'm going to sweep through that way. So I turn my chip brush to the side and just sweep through. And there's a nice white. And it looks so natural when we use our chip brush. It doesn't look so forced. And that's another step you could also repeat down here. Add some white to the wood with your chip brush. Just get rid of the excess on your brush. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to do that. Great. So now I'm going to go in and take a little bit of that same gray, and I'm going to go up to here, and I'm just going to kind of create kind of like a rim up top. It'll stop kind of like right here. It doesn't go all the way through. Kind of stops right there. A little rim at top. And I could go right under my leaf there. My leaf kind of like, it's right under the leaf actually. My leaf stops right there. I'm gonna do that little rim. Again, it's not perfect. You can see it's kind of sketchy looking, and we like that. It's expressive. It kind of gives the perfectionist like, oh my goodness, we're not gonna make it a perfect straight line. But it's okay. So I'm gonna take some white and just put a little white streaks in there. And they act as the shine. And again, they don't have to be all connected. I did like a line there, a little line there, and maybe right there. Now we've got your pot done, right? And if I wanted to, I could even come in here, sorry, with the little gray and go all the way up to the edge of where the pot starts to turn like that. Just kind of blend that in if I wanted to. If you're like, nope, like it the way it is, that's totally fine. That's what I'm adding, and that just gives like a little curve shadow to it. Great. Now we're gonna go in and work on the succulents, okay? And just add a little bit of detail. We're almost done. So we're gonna start here. Actually, let's start in the middle. And I'm gonna take, I've got so many greens here on my palette. So now I'm gonna take a little bit of that blue green, and I'm gonna go in the middle of each of these leaves, like a little blotch in the middle of each leaf. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You kind of want it kind of scribbly. In the middle of each one, right? Now I'm going to take a little bit of like a lime green or light green and just put a couple streaks on either side of that. Just add a streak of that to it. So, see? A streak. You could even cover some of that middle green so it doesn't look so perfect. I even going over some of my middle a little bit, just so it doesn't look so perfect. So just a little scribble pretty much that kind of covers that middle part a little, but that dark blue is showing through, as you can see. So I just kind of put a little bit of lime green. Now I'm going to put a little bit of that light green, which is like a whitish green. So that's why you save your colors. If you don't, you could just make a few different new greens. So this one had a white in it, so it was just green with some white. And I'm kind of adding a little bit of that. And again, they're just dots. So this is the hardest part, I feel. But it's just little scribbles of different greens. I started off with that blue in the middle. Great. And then it'll come together, I promise. So then I'm going to take some white, and I'm even going to add a streak of white on the side of some of these leaves right here. Okay, so add a little streak of white. Right? Definitely, you could totally use your little brush for that. So take your time. You're just adding streaks of colors, and it's going to look like a big blob, and you're going to go, I don't know if I did that right. But I'm gonna take some of that gray that you used before, or you can make it. It was just some black and a little tiny bit of white. And I'm gonna trace it after that. Then you'll say, oh, okay, this is a succulent. And so here, and then you try your best to remember. Like right here, I'm like, wait, where's my pencil mark? You gotta look really careful. And that's why you paint in the same direction of your leaves. You do each leaf individually, because then I can kind of see which area is which. And this is probably our hardest part. And you know, but that's what makes it so pretty. And remember, your painting doesn't come out perfect. It's okay. This is practice too, you know. I had a lot of people who would come to these and they would start off like, oh, I don't really like my painting. This is so hard. And then by like their third one, they're like all pro and they loved it. And then they started a wall and then they were able to see how they progressed as they went. Wow, that was my first one and this is my 7th one. So don't worry if it's not perfect, okay? You can always try it once and say, oh, I'm gonna try that again. I think I could do it again. Try it another time, a second time. There you go. Sorry if I kind of got in your way with detailing it a little bit. You kind of got to get close. So I've been bringing that up and you can see it. Whoop. You can see how I outline that, okay? Awesome. So take your time to do that. Great place to pause right here. I will count to 3 again. So you could pause. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's go ahead and detail. Let's go for this one. No, let's go for this one, because if you're right-handed, you might smear it. So let's go here. And I'm going to take some of that gray, maybe mix a little extra black in it. Some of that gray, and I'm going to go up on the side here. Mine kind of came out a little black, more black, no big deal. Either way, darker color, whatever color you want to use. You can even use a dark green. And that actually might look good, a dark green. Add some green to your black. And then here on this side, you can see I'm just kind of covering this side, tracing this side. And here on this side, I'm using a small brush. I'm just kind of adding some darkness on that side that follows the shape. Same here. Start stick at the bottom, gets thin. And remember, you don't have to go as fast as me. I'll do it. You could even just watch what I do and then go and do it yourself. Pause it and do it yourself. Sometimes that's a helpful way to do it. Here, and then on this side too. Okay. And then on these, in the green, I just add a couple streaks of black. That's all. Or my dark color, whether it's dark green, black, or gray. I'll add a couple streaks of color in that. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. Take your time. Great place to pause right here to finish that plant. And I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. So once you get that plant, I'm going to grab some white on my small brush. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some little like white. And you want to go on kind of thick because, you know, as you're layering paint, especially when it's still wet, you want to be thicker. And so they're just like little confettis, like little lines. Some are dots, but just like little lines. And they're all random. Same here, little line, little dots. See what I mean? And you're gonna do the same on each one. I've got random lines, a dot here and there on each one, okay? And those are all just on those plants that you just did right there. Actually, I don't have to do my soil again. If you feel like you went over your soil too much, you could add soil if you wanted. You don't have to. I'm just using the dark gray. So go ahead and finish those little lines and dots. Great, so once you've got those little lines and dots, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna trace with my gray or black, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm using my gray. I'm gonna trace each of my little succulents here, my little leaves. And I'm not worried about perfection. This is about expression, not perfection. So we're okay with it not being perfect when I'm tracing it, okay? And you don't have to go as fast as me. I do this every single day, so I naturally paint a little fast. And especially when expressing myself, kind of gets like an adrenaline rush, so I paint a little quicker. And so don't worry about keeping up with me. You can always pause. It's a great thing about video. You could see I went a little thick there. There we go. You don't have to, but I kind of accidentally did, but I like it. So I trace it. That's my first step. Go ahead and do that. And again, pause. If I start too soon, then you guys could pause. Okay, so once I trace it, I'm gonna take some of that white green, like a whitish green. And so I just took a big scoop of white and put it in with the light green. So it has a tinted, it's like a white that has a tint of green. And I'm gonna kind of go on the side here, here, on the other side of the tracing. So it's a really light green. A couple streaks here. So you're just adding it mostly to this side, like the light is hitting it here on this side. And you don't have, you could do a couple lines so it doesn't look too perfect. And the light is all on this side. See? And if I wanted, I don't have to, I could add some streaks of that darker color I traced it in. I could add some streaks on the other side of that darker color. See how I added a little bit just of that color I traced in on the other side of the light. But you still, of course, want to see the green below. So go ahead and add those streaks, and guess what? After that, you are all done. Now, if you wanted to, so you're adding just those black streaks. If you wanted to, like I'm noticing little things, like I could straighten up right here a little bit. That's just me. Yours may be good. And then you may notice something else you may want to do. And you could, this is the time you can clean anything up, detail it, fix it. So here I'm gonna do, kind of straighten it a little bit. And again, I didn't need to. If I liked it crooked like that, I could leave it. But I kind of wanted to straighten it up. So any other details that you find, like I'm cleaning up this right here, that you want to add, that you want to fix, I'm noticing I can bring my brown down a little here, right there. And I think that's all I noticed on mine. So again, you could pause this as much as you like. Some people like watching it first, like watching the whole thing, and then they'll paint it. They know what to look forward to. However you want to do it. You could take it in pieces. It is a hard painting. That doesn't mean you can't do it. And at least give it a shot. So don't worry about making it perfect. This is all about learning how to express yourself, create, and also just spending some time together, even if it's virtually. I really hope you guys have a wonderful Mother's Day, and thank you so much for joining me and creating with me.